My husband said, "Get divorced right away," and handed me a divorce paper. "I understand. Let's get divorced. You are unlucky. I never thought you would be burdened with a debt that you can't pay off even if you spend your whole life paying it back, especially from your own parents." I told my husband, who was grinning while misunderstanding a certain fact. Wait, what do you mean? My name is Sally. I'm a 40-year-old company employee. It's been exactly 10 years since I married my husband, Sean. We don't have children, and we tried infertility treatment, but it didn't work out, so we decided to live together as a couple. Still, I think we're living happily enough. My husband is a little stubborn, so we have regular fights, but we don't hate each other and talk every day. He doesn't complain about what I do, and he works hard and earns money, so there are no big problems for now. My husband and I were originally classmates in high school. We were in the same class in the first and second years of high school. Moreover, both of us were in the basketball club, so we often practiced together after school. We weren't dating when we were high school students, but we were good friends in the same class. The reason why we got married was because of a certain wedding when we were 27 years old. A member of the basketball club in high school got married. At that time, members of the basketball club gathered regardless of gender and had a reunion-like gathering, and I reunited with my husband. It was an opportunity when our seats became next to each other at the second party, and we started going out for drinks after work together. We then went on several dates, and our relationship started. After about 3 years of dating, we decided to get married. I think it was good that I could get married at the age of 30. In my 20s, after graduating from college, I wanted to concentrate on work and get results, and I thought about getting married after entering my 30s. Sean was a very kind and good person, so I think it was really good that Sean was my marriage partner. At the wedding ceremony, not only former basketball club members but also many friends and colleagues congratulated us, and we tasted the greatest happiness. Then we started living together and started our newlywed life. Even though we had been friends since high school, being newlyweds felt special and fresh. Even though more than 10 years had passed since we met each other and 3 years had passed since we started dating, I think the newlywed magic is amazing. My husband, considering that we both work, shared housework properly, although most of them were simple. I am grateful that dinner was ready when he came back from work. During meals, we talked about our work and encouraged each other. My husband said, "Oh man, I was really busy today. My boss gave me a lot of work," I replied. "I see, good job. Let me give you one more potato." We enjoyed our new married life happily like children. We continued to live happily as a couple, but as I mentioned earlier, we couldn't have children easily. We tried infertility treatment and pregnancy preparation, but it didn't work out. We couldn't have children even after many years had passed, so we gradually gave up and decided to spend time together as a couple only. However, since then, my husband has become somewhat cold to me. If someone says it's just my imagination, then so be it, but I feel like his usual kindness has decreased. Until now, he listened to my opinions and considered them, but now he tries to force his own opinions on me. Maybe he was considerate of me before, and maybe he started showing his true self from around this time. Even so, I didn't want to break up with him because I still loved him, but I felt a little lonely that he treated me carelessly. This feeling started about 3 years ago. Well, we will spend a long time together as a couple from now on, so it's better for him to be in his natural state as much as possible. However, his treatment of me has gotten worse year by year. The reason is that although we shared housework because we both worked together before, he stopped doing any housework at all. Of course, I don't want my husband to do housework mainly. However, it was tough when he didn't prepare dinner even when I was busy with overtime work or something like that, and my husband started coming home late without any contact with me more often than before. Even though I prepared dinner after work with a tired body, when he came back in the middle of the night and said, "Sorry, I already ate," I was really annoyed. But since he worked hard and earned money for us, and didn't complain when I used my time and money for hobbies on my day off, I tolerated it, thinking it was okay. However, recently, an event happened that made me strongly feel that my husband no longer loves me. He forgot our 10th wedding anniversary, which was the day we were supposed to go to a fancy restaurant I had been wanting to go to for a long time. I had even made a reservation, but he forgot. On the day of the anniversary, I asked him if he could meet me at the restaurant at 7 p.m., and he replied, "What?" I was surprised and got emotional. "Didn't I tell you that we were going to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary today? And I even made a reservation." When I said that, my husband was surprised at first but then became unhappy. "Don't get angry. You've been so noisy since this morning. What do you mean by noisy? Do you think our married life is not important anymore? I think you've been treating me very carelessly," I said. Suddenly, all the frustration that had been building up inside me exploded, and I ended up taking it out on my husband. Then my husband got angry. "What? You're such a pain in the ass. What's with this 40-year-old woman talking like a little girl? Think about your age." Wait, Sean, I'm done with this. I'm going to work now. Don't say anything weird and make things difficult for me. Oh, and cancel the reservation because I have a drinking party with my colleagues today." What my husband said that and went to work. I was shocked by what he said and froze for a while. It was too much. Can we continue our married life like this? I started thinking about it. Since it would cause trouble for the restaurant if we canceled on the day of the reservation, I decided to go to the restaurant with my father instead. It was close to my father's birthday, so it was good as a substitute for his celebration. But my husband's attitude really shocked me. My father was also surprised when he heard my story. "Sean said that? I always celebrated our wedding anniversary in a big way with your mother, so I can't understand what he's saying. My mother passed away a few years ago, but my father really cherished her. I had seen how close my parents were and wanted to build that kind of relationship with my husband too, but it was sad that we had become so cold towards each other. Well, if anything happens, rely on your father, okay?" "Thank you." Although I was very shocked, talking to my father made me feel a little calmer. My husband didn't come home that night. He came back early in the morning and went straight to bed and slept. Since then, we hardly talked anymore. My husband worked overtime almost every day and came home less often than before. If things continue like this, it may be difficult to continue our married life. When I was thinking about such things, something unbelievable happened to me. My father had a heart attack and died on the spot. My head went blank. I was grieving for my father, who was my only relative after losing my mother. However, when I told my husband that my father had passed away, he replied with a cold, "I see." I was suddenly filled with anger. I knew he didn't love me anymore, but since it was my wife's father who had died, he could have shown some kindness by grieving or comforting me in some way. Thanks to my husband, I regained my composure and proceeded with the arrangements and preparations for the funeral, and we were able to hold my father's funeral without any problems. Although my husband attended the funeral, he looked bored from start to finish, which really made me angry. My love for him disappeared all at once. Then, a few days later, a lawyer came to the house and talked about the inheritance, but at that time I clashed with my husband again. The lawyer said, regarding Mr. Sally's inheritance, there is first a debt of 100 million yen. At that moment, my husband raised his voice. "What? A debt of 100 million yen? There's no way we can pay that." "Wait a minute. Let's listen to the end. Don't be ridiculous. I can't continue my married life with a woman who is in debt. Get divorced now." My husband said that and handed me a divorce paper. "Huh? Are you serious?" "I'm serious. Besides, our relationship as husband and wife is already falling apart. That's because you're communicating less and less with me." "Shut up. Anyway, I can't continue my married life with a woman who is in debt. Sign this divorce paper." "Okay, let's get divorced." I received the divorce paper from my husband and signed it. I was angry that it was already filled out when he prepared it, but I was glad that I could completely cut off ties with my husband. There was still something else I thought was good about being separated from my husband. In my mind, I laughed and said, "Then I'll submit this. Lawyer, can I have the documents because I will inherit it properly?" I understand. I proceeded with the inheritance procedures for my father's estate. "Thank you very much." Sally's father's estate has been inherited by Sally. For now, I sent the lawyer back and immediately went to the city hall to submit the divorce paper. When I returned home, my husband was waiting with a triumphant look on his face. "You're unlucky too. Who would have thought that you would be burdened with a debt of an amount that you couldn't pay for your entire life from your own parents?" My husband was still smiling while misunderstanding something, so I told him a certain fact. I asked the lawyer on the phone, but what I inherited wasn't just debt. What my father's debt was about the newly built house. A house? Wait a minute. What do you mean? My father bought a house for me, so he took out a loan for it, but he died of a myocardial infarction right after he bought it, so there was almost no money left on the loan balance. That's why they said there was a debt of 100 million yen. At first, I thought it was strange because my father was an executive at his company and had made money from stock investments, so he wouldn't have borrowed money. Stocks as part of his inheritance. My father left me an amount of money that would cover the debt without me having to pay it back. So not only do I not have any debt, but I also get a lot of money. What? I didn't hear anything. Don't mess around, but isn't it because you didn't listen to everything until the end? Then give me half of your inheritance. What are you talking about? The inheritance share is not included in property division, huh? We're already divorced now, so it doesn't matter how much money comes to me. When I said that, my husband suddenly changed his attitude and turned over his palm. Sally, let's pretend we didn't get divorced. I finally realized who is really important. We are in love with each other again. Let's get married again. Beyond losing affection, disgust arose in me. Stop it. It's disgusting. You're not after me, but after the money that came to me. I won't start married life again with such a person. Don't underestimate me. When I pack up my things, I'll leave. You should just live your normal life as usual. If you bother me again, I'll call the police. You and I are strangers now. My husband turned pale when he heard what I said. Ignoring him, I packed up my things and left home. Afterwards, I moved into the house my father had built for me. It was really luxurious and beautiful, as expected since it cost 100 million yen. I'll be able to spend time here comfortably forever. By the way, regarding my ex-husband, I asked a private investigator just to be sure and found out that he had been having an affair with another woman since we were married. I immediately sent a certified letter to my ex-husband and his mistress's workplace to demand compensation for adultery. As a result, my ex-husband had to work hard to pay the compensation while being looked at coldly by his colleagues. I inherited all of my father's estate and received compensation for the adultery, so I should be financially secure in my retirement. However, I also want to follow in my father's footsteps and increase my assets through stocks and other means. From now on, while focusing on work, I want to challenge myself as much as possible in other hobbies or things I want to try. So it turns out that your ex-husband was being cold towards you because he was having an affair. But in the end, he suffered a huge loss because of it. You're better off without him. You can now spend your days in peace without worrying about money. Please challenge yourself as much as possible in whatever you want to do. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'll see you in our next video.